Solway. The ablative, as I've said many times before, is more powerful than you give it credit for. When we first met the ablative back in the Blue Book, we saw it with 7 prepositions, ab cum de, ex pro sine, and then in could take the accusative or the ablative. And that was just basically it. We just encountered it, and then it just was one of those things that we used with prepositional phrases, and that was fine. And then a couple stages ago, we started seeing it without a preposition. But that was okay, because it still had that prepositional understanding to it. So we didn't need the ab cum de ex pro sine in, because we could just apply it. And that's when we met our ablative Viking Buoff. And so no problem. So we could still use those prepositions with the understanding that it just wasn't needed because the ablative is just that powerful. But this chapter, there's something new. So we saw sentences that looked like this. Die illuscente multi sacari in ripus fluminis laborabat. With the day growing bright, lots of dock workers were working on the riverbank. Naui delegata secari frumentum exponere coeperant. With the ship having been tied up, the dock workers, they began to take off the grain. Pecunia distribata sacari ad hibernarium proxima festinavant. After the money had been distributed, the dock workers, they hurried to the nearest tavern. We have these ablative phrases, die ulliscante, navi delegata, pecunia distribata, soli accadente. These are ablatives. I recognize these as ablatives, but where's the by, with, and, on, or from? These are a special construction where we have a noun in the ablative and a participle in the ablative. These are called ablative absolutes. Ablative absolute phrases, they can be translated in a variety of different ways. So let's take this one, for instance. We have verbe capta milites disgesserant. We could say, with the city having been captured. There's that with idea for the ablative. With the city having been captured, the soldiers left. But that's a little clunky in English. In English, I would probably say when the city was captured. I might even say after the city was captured, the soldiers left. This is a new use of the ablative. Let's do some more examples. Arcu dedicato cives domum redierant. Arcu dedicato, we have arcu is the ablative of the word arc. Dedicato is the ablative of having been dedicated. Cives domum redierant, the citizens left home. So, under what circumstances did the citizens leave home? With the ark having been dedicated? After the ark was dedicated? Since the ark was dedicated? When the ark was dedicated? I'm feeling there's these ablative absolutes are a little squishy. Duce interfecto hostes desperabant. After the leader was assassinated? When the leader was assassinated? Since the leader was assassinated? The enemy was in despair. So all those examples, the participle was a PPP, right? It was a perfect passive participle. So the action in the ablative absolute happened before the main verb. But it doesn't have to be that way. Let's try it with a present participle. Omnibus tacentibus libertas nomina recitavit. When everyone was quiet, the freedmen read out the names. Right? So we have the being the quiet and the reading basically happening at the same time. Since everyone was quiet, the freedmen read out the names with everyone being quiet. Let's try another one. Custodibus dormientibus captivia fugerunt. When the guards were sleeping, the captives ran away. So you see that the running away and the guards sleeping, they happen at the same time. Since the guards were sleeping, Latin uses the ablative absolutes to describe the conditions or the circumstances in which the main verb occurs. These constructions get their name because they're in the ablative. Right? The absolute means that they are free or unconnected. Grammatically, an ablative absolute is unconnected to the rest of the sentence. It's a little phrase, an island, a bubble unto itself that gives us the circumstances. Commonly, it's a noun and a participle. It could also be a noun and a noun. That happens sometimes too. Could also just be a noun and an adjective. That happens sometimes too, but they're both going to be not the noun, and whatever else it's with is going to be in an ablative. If we have a past participle, that implies that the action happened before the main verb. If we have a present participle, that implies that the action is happening at the same time as the main verb. Before, when we saw ablatives, we translated them with by, with, in, on, or from. And we can get away with translating them with this happening, with that having happened. But it's not great. We can use words like when or after to show time. We can use since or because to show a cause. A Latin speaker would know pretty intuitively what this construction meant, whether it was to show time or to show cause, or maybe even to imply both. We, as English speakers, will have to do a little bit of work to figure out which one sounds best and which one makes the most sense. They're very, very common. Ablative absolutes are very, very common in Latin, but because they're uncommon in English, we have to do some work. So there's only one instance of an ablative absolute that works in English. God willing, that's the only one I can think of. God willing, you will remember the ablative absolute and the power that these ablatives have in all aspects of your Latin career. Voila.